Magic 87.6. Hi, Andrew and Mathew Dickerson. Morning.
Good morning. Great to be chatting to you again.
Mate, look, it's no time to be complaining, but people do complain. It's part of life. But one of the things they're complaining about, how long it takes to charge an electric vehicle. Come on, Matt, break the myth down for me, because you know that's the number one complaint everyone makes about EVs.
It is, and it does take a little bit longer to charge an EV than it does to fill up the petrol tank, but over in Indiana, they're actually trying to address this problem by magnetising the highway. This sounds pretty cool. So they basically will run some coils underneath the road. They're just doing a trial section to begin with, but the idea is to roll it out in larger sections. This first trial will just be a quarter-mile stretch of road. And just like your mobile phone has wireless charging capabilities, and you can put your phone down on a charging pad, and it's got to be roughly, loosely, in about the right orientation. You sit it down and it charges wirelessly with nothing physically connected. As you drive along this little test section, this quarter-mile test section, you have a little wireless charging pad underneath your electric vehicle, and as you drive over the road, it's got coils underneath the roadway that will actually charge your car as you drive. Now, if this trial goes according to plan, which hopefully it will, the idea is to roll it out over longer stretches of highway or freeway or motorway. And just imagine the concept. You jump in your car and you go, gee, I've only got half charge on my car. I better take the motorway X to get to work today. And as you drive along that motorway, it's charging up your car, and you get to work and you go, oh, that's pretty cool. My car's now fully charged. Now, of course, this is the first time it's happening in America, but it's not the first time it's happening in the world. This same technology has already been trialled in South Korea. It's already been trialled in Israel. And of course, if you're going to trial anything to do with electric vehicles, the place you would think you would go would be somewhere like Norway. Norway has the highest penetration of electric vehicle ownership in the world as a percentage basis. They ticked over more than 50% of new car sales being electric some time ago, probably over a year ago now. And so they've actually got some stretches of highway that are exactly like this, where you jump in the car, you drive along, and it's charging up wirelessly as you drive. Now, of course, you do have to have on your car a wireless charging pad. Most cars don't come with that as standard, but they are able to be fitted with that as an aftermarket accessory. Most people would fit that because they might put a wireless charging pad in their garage, for example. So when they drive into home, they just drive into their garage and park over their wireless charging pad, and it charges their car up without having to plug anything in. But this is next level convenience. This is next level, the first world problem, isn't it? That you have to be able to charge while you're driving along because they couldn't be bothered plugging in somewhere and charging up. But I think in terms of convenience, this is pretty cool.
I think someone's been watching too much Mario Kart, Matt, where, you know, you drive over the arrow bit on the roads, and you kind of get that turbocharged.
Well, they do that same thing on Formula E. On Formula E racing, I know my son and I were watching Formula E, and they've got exactly that same thing as in Mario, where you basically drive over a section of the road and you get an extra boost. So maybe they've been watching a bit of that as well.
Yeah, if we get to the point where we're throwing pineapples at each other on the road, you know we've all gone too far.
Drop an oil slick behind you as you drive along.
Yeah, here comes the banana peel. I don't like you, Ford Laser. Drone deliveries, they're happening all over the world. Pizza, coffee, parcels, and now the military's using them for blood.
For blood. So if you're out on the battlefield and you get an injury, you get a bullet go through and you start bleeding, there are some people out there on the battlefield who can patch you up pretty quickly. But one of the problems is they don't often have enough blood. So if you've got a bit of a loss of blood, they stitch it up and then there you go, you can keep fighting on, but you've lost too much blood to keep going. So now they'll send in the drones. Most people out in the battlefield don't carry around a few litres of blood in their backpack just in case of that injury, but being able to send in drones is a way that they're being able to keep people in the military going. And there's been some battles or scenarios at the moment. They're just doing sort of simulated scenarios in the British military with the commandos where they're actually testing exactly this scenario where they go and, I assume they don't actually really injure people, but they send in the drones with their deliveries of blood. And so there's two things they're sending in: ammunition and blood, and they're two things that are absolutely crucial on the battlefield, but it's often hard to get those in and actually get people to be able to have that on their personnel. And of course, ammunition, if you run out of ammunition, that can be a reason that you might do like in Monty Python Holy Grail, where you say, retreat, run away, if you run out of ammunition. But if you can get that ammunition delivered to you and keep battling, then you can keep going ahead. Now, these aren't your little drones that you go up to a nice little white goods retailer and buy and send them in. There's some pretty serious drones. They can carry, in British terms, they can carry 140 pounds of payload. They've got a range of 43 miles. They've got a flight time of 36 minutes. So as you can imagine, they're pretty serious drones, but they can carry a fair bit into the battlefield. The great part about it as well is that they're still fairly disposable. In other words, if you've got a swarm of these drones coming in and they manage to shoot down one or two, then you've still got more drones that are able to come in. And in terms of military, they're fairly inexpensive. I mean, I'm sure they're still expensive for you and I, Andrew, but they're fairly inexpensive in military terms. So, yeah, I'm not sure if you can say, I need some blood for this particular person, some ammunition. And by the way, can I get a latte with 2 sugars on that, send in with it as well? Not sure if they're actually at that level yet.
Yeah. I'll have a pint of O negative and that whiz bang blender I bought off Amazon.
That's right. Get that delivery to come in.
Yeah. Now, I don't know about you, Matt. I know we shouldn't be talking about death at the moment, but I don't like the cold at the best of times. I don't know about you.
Well, this is cold. If you want cold, this is really cold.
This is the ultimate cold. And can I preface this as well as I'm Greek. Now, I know Greeks come up with some kooky stuff, but this takes the cake. I would have assumed there would have been something like this already here because there's a cryonics facility being built in Australia.
There is a cryonics facility already here. They're going through the process to be able to get to the stage where they can take some customers. I'm not sure if you call them customers because they won't actually be alive, but people are already paying money now. They've got founding clients. So you can pay your money. It's only 50 grand, Andrew, and you don't have to use it. You can nominate someone else with that $50,000. You can say, hey, I want to keep my best friend going, my mum, my dad, whatever. And so when they pass away, they get taken to this cryonics facility. It's about halfway between Melbourne and Sydney. They get taken there very quickly. They get put into a deep freeze. I'm not sure if that's what you call it, but they get put into that. And then at some stage in the future, they get tapped on the shoulder, woken up and say, hey, buddy, it's the year 2100 and Manly have finally won the premiership. So you've got maybe that's the condition. That's right. Maybe that's the condition. Maybe put me to sleep, and when Manly finally win the premiership again, then that's the year to wake me up. So maybe that might go forever. Who knows? But this is the idea. Now, it's never been successfully done. They've never successfully put a human to sleep and brought them back to life, despite all those movies that you see where that happens. Believe it or not, that's actually not real. I know that might burst a few bubbles out there for people, but those movies that do that, it's not based on anything that actually happens in the real world. And of course, one of the problems when you freeze people or freeze any cell is that taking those cells down into that frozen state, they've obviously got some water. We've got a fair bit of water in our body, and water expands when it freezes, so it tends to do a bit of damage. I'm not sure if you've ever seen those science experiments where they take a lettuce leaf and they put it in some liquid nitrogen to freeze it very quickly and then thaw it out, and suddenly that lettuce leaf that was nice and stiff and well formed is now very floppy. And that's because those freezing of the water in there, that expands and breaks apart some of those bonds. I'm not sure how I'd look as a human frozen, water expands, breaks some of those bonds inside me, and then I'm all a bit floppily like a piece of lettuce leaf. But obviously they're working on that. They're trying to get it to be better. So this will be the thing. You'll be able to be in this facility. They'll take initially not too many people, but they'll get to the point where they believe they'll have, say, 400 to 600 people frozen in this facility. You'll walk in there, look around. There's my little spot over there. Thanks very much. That's when I'll go when I die. it'd be a bit freaky. They'll have a caretaker, a 24-hour caretaker there. It'd be a bit freaky, wouldn't it, being the caretaker, walking around, seeing all these people there. Yeah, it's a strange one. But anyway, as they used to say about Walt Disney, he wanted to do it because he wanted to be in suspended animation. Boom, boom.
I know, right? I know. Do you think if this was successful, we would have brought back the Duke by now? Because John Wayne's also on a chiller somewhere.
Oh, is he? I didn't know that one.
Yeah, John Wayne's Frozen, Walt Disney. No, I want to see Walt Disney, kind of zombie Walt Disney, come back and take over the world. That'd be something. Make
everyone wear Mickey Mouse ears.
Yeah, that's what I want to see, Matt. I want to see Walt Disney come out of the freezer with Mickey Mouse ears.
Yep.
And the first word spoken be, "Hello, Pluto." I know, it just freaks me out. I've been to Holbrook, Matt. I know that they do some freaky stuff in Holbrook, but I'm going to have to think twice about visiting there. And I got a really good friend that lives there. So.
Yeah, right. Well, maybe he's living there for a reason. Maybe he's planning on living for a long time.
Yeah, maybe. Now, all right, this is kind of weird that I don't know if I've been comfortable about this, Matt, but apparently Amazon could now be having a key to your building. No way. Jeff Bezos, I don't need you in my house.
Well, that's right, especially the way apparently Jeff treats some of his employees. Maybe you wouldn't really want some of the employees there, but you can choose, if you like, to have Amazon come into your garage or your house and make a delivery. A delivery driver can come in and there's certain processes you can put in place for those permissions. And that's okay if you choose to do that. Fine, happy days. But there are buildings, as in apartment buildings in America now, where Amazon has been incentivizing the building owner or the building manager to put Amazon locks on the main entry to the whole building, not to each individual apartment, but to the main entry. So the Amazon driver can come along, they can just walk straight through the front door, they don't need to be buzzed in by anyone in the apartment block and go and make the delivery to maybe the foyer, maybe to the doorman, but basically they can just walk on in. Now, they've vetted these drivers, so of course they'd be safe and not have any sort of tendencies to do harm to people in those buildings, but that's assuming that everyone passes those sort of tests and they're okay. But some people are up in arms about this because they don't want Amazon drivers just waltzing on into their apartment blocks, being able to get in. What Amazon's doing by incentivizing some of these building owners is they're trying to really own the market. So when people in that building want to order something online, they say, oh, if I use Amazon, they'll be able to bring the delivery into the foyer of the building. That'll be much safer. I guess I'll use Amazon rather than one of the other thousands of competing companies. So that's where Amazon's focused on this process. But again, some privacy groups and privacy advocates are a bit concerned about giving Amazon the keys to the front door of your apartment block.
I don't even feel comfortable with the fact that my real estate agent has a set of keys to my house. So I'm not going to give it to some crazy lunatic I don't even know. Hang on, maybe that is my real estate agent.
No offence intended on any individuals.
No. Windscreens, Matt, you know how I like to get personal when you and I talk?
Sure.
I'm going to come out now and say that one of our cars has had a cracked windscreen for a couple of months now. We're fixing it. I can guarantee you we're in the process of, but they are annoying. Have you ever had a windscreen and driven around for a long period of time?
No, I haven't had them. I like to get them replaced as soon as possible because they are so important now with structural and technology components of a car. But I'm sure you've found this out already, but I'll just give you the warning. Make sure you're sitting down when you ring your friendly local windscreen place to have that windscreen replaced because they're incredibly expensive now. I've had two of my windscreens replaced in the last 6 or 7 months, and both of them were in the order of $5,000 for a windscreen. Now,
holy crap.
I know.
Elon knows how to take you for a drive, literally. I know you drive an EV.
I know that going back in the dark old days, I remember I had an old HZ Holden V8 Ute was my first vehicle, and I did have a broken windscreen on that, and I remember getting that replaced. Now, I'm going back a few years as well, but it was a couple $100, and that included the whole installation process. But back then, a windscreen was just a piece of glass designed to keep the cold air out as you drove along on the highway. Now, a windscreen, for a start, it's part of the structural component of the actual car itself. If you roll that car, you're relying on that windscreen, the strength of that windscreen to stop the whole cabin just collapsing down on top of you. So that glass is a structural component. But the second thing is the technology that's built into the glass. So you've got things like a camera perhaps built into there for automatic driving. You've got automatic windscreen wiper activation. So when rain falls on the windscreen, your windscreen wipers automatically activate. You've also got automatic dimming so that as cars approach you, your high beam automatically dim. So all of this technology that's built in, not only is that built into the windscreen, but when you actually have the windscreen fitted or replaced, all that technology has got to be plugged back into the car. And then, and this was the real killer, then you've got to have that all calibrated. And my father-in-law had a windscreen replaced recently. They had to take the car, so they had it done in Dubbo. They had to ship the car on a truck across to Canberra because that was the only place they could do the calibration, and then put the car back on a truck and ship it back over to Dubbo for the job to be finished off. And I had a similar experience with one of my vehicles where I actually had to have that recalibration all done in Sydney as part of that whole process. So wow. It's a fascinating process where we've improved cars dramatically, we've improved the technology that's built into the windscreen, but now it's not so easy to just go and say, oh, crack in the windscreen, pull that one out, put another one in, happy days, everything's great, away we go.
Yeah, we actually had a bit of glass break on our truck, and just trying to get, and this was in the canopy, Matt, and in the canopy of the truck, like, unlike the Lancer, I know in our Lancer, like the rear windscreen has the aerial in it and there's your demister inbuilt in it. And if I was going to get the bit of glass replaced in the Lancer, I would probably have to go through all that because I need the aerial done and I need the demister. Yep. But just to get a bit of glass in a canopy, no one stocks this stuff anymore. We had to get a bit of glass shipped from the Gold Coast.
Wow.
We had to ring a dealership in Campbelltown so that we could find out there was a bit of glass on the Gold Coast and then get that shipped from the Gold Coast to Mudgee. And then it's a nightmare now, as you said, trying to get a bit of glass into a car. That is just crazy.
And our insurance premiums are suffering. Now, insurance companies want to make cars safer because they've obviously got protection of the customers as their primary concern, ? Maybe they've got their bottom line to protect, so fewer claims means that they've got less money to pay out. So that's great. They want to make the cars safer. But then windscreen replacements, you're basically making an insurance claim now for a windscreen replacement, which seems crazy. Again, back in the old days, it was basically below your threshold for the amount you'd have to pay, the excess you'd have to pay. So you wouldn't make an insurance claim, but now you do make an insurance claim on just something simple like a windscreen replacement. So it does seem crazy, but it gets to the stage, even BMW, for example, have got electromagnetic compatibility screws that need to be used in a repair. So it's not just a normal screw that they might have on a certain component near the windscreen. Because of all that technology built in the windscreen, they've got to have screws that are compatible with the electromagnetic components of that windscreen. So it is getting very high tech.
Yeah. That is the word for this whole process, screw. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to add any more there, Matt.